If you look at the map of Russia, one thing appears very prominent, and that is its large size. It is the largest country in the world, spread across 11 time zones and 2 continents, from the snow-covered Arctic in the north to the deserts of Kazakhstan, and from the Baltic Sea in the west to the Pacific Ocean in the east. It is so large that it dominates the world map. But the most interesting thing is that 80% of Russia's population lives on only 20% of the area, and the rest of the country is almost entirely empty. But why is that? Why does such a powerful country have so much empty land? And why is some part of Russia easy to live in, and the rest so difficult? To understand this, we need to understand Russia's geography, history, and politics. Because behind this strange population pattern of Russia, there are many untold stories. If you divide Russia into 2 parts, European Russia and Asian Russia, you will see a very strange thing. European Russia is spread over only 23% of the area, but 80% of Russia's population lives here, while Asian Russia, also called Siberia or Far East Russia, is spread over 75% of the area, and it is mostly empty. Russia's capital, Moscow, is also in European Russia, and St. Petersburg, which is Russia's cultural hub, is also there. Most of Russia's railroad network, industries, and political institutions are also on this western side. But why didn't Russians settle toward the eastern side? To understand this, we need to go back centuries. In the beginning, Russia was not as large as it is today. At that time, there were small Slavic communities in this area, which today are called West Russia and Ukraine. These communities were near rivers, and the land here was fertile, and the climate was also very good. But on the other side of the Ural mountain range, the conditions were very different. When the Russian Empire started to expand, it tried to settle people on the eastern side, but living there was very difficult because Siberia is famous for its extremely cold climate. There is snow and more snow. While in Europe, cities were easily built around rivers, in Siberia it was difficult because there was harsh cold and nothing grew. But then, during the Soviet Union era, things started to change. When the Soviet Union came to power in the early 20th century, its leaders made a plan to spread development and population to the eastern side, especially in Siberia and Far East Russia. But this time, instead of asking people's will, the government started forcibly sending them there. During Joseph Stalin's government, from the 1920s to the 1950s, millions of people were sent to the eastern side. Some of them were political prisoners accused of speaking against the government, and some were simple citizens sent there for labor. And some people were sent to gulags, which were prison camps in extremely cold areas. Life in these camps was very harsh. People were forced to work in mines, forests, and construction projects in harsh cold, and they were given little food and shelter. During this time, the Soviet Union started building new cities and industrial centers on the eastern side, and these centers were near oil fields, coal mines, and military bases. The purpose was to use Siberia's resources for the Soviet economy and to strengthen the Soviet Union's control there. The biggest project of this era was the Trans-Siberian railway network, which was completed in 1916, and this track was laid from Moscow in the west to port cities like Vladivostok, which is right next to the Pacific Ocean. It is the longest railway line in the world, more than 9,000 kilometers long, and its purpose is to connect Russia's eastern areas with the western areas. This was a great achievement at that time, and it also helped to some extent in opening up the Siberian areas. But despite this, most Russians did not want to settle there. Despite new cities and railways, only a few people were willing to live in those areas. And the biggest and natural reason was that Russia's western part is very good for living. The primary reason is simple. Western Russia is far more livable. European Russia has always been suitable for settlement, with pleasant weather, fertile and flat land that makes construction easy. The Black Earth Belt in this region is among the most fertile soils in the world, stretching across areas like Kursk, Voronezh, and Belgorod. This fertile strip is ideal for growing wheat, barley, and sunflowers, producing 70% of Russia's grain. Major rivers like the Volga, Europe's longest river, and the Dnieper have historically supported trade. The Volga connects over 11 Russian cities, including Kazan, Nizhny Novgorod, and Volgograd, before flowing into the Caspian Sea, aiding agriculture and transport. This area is also close to Europe, giving it access to trade, culture, and modern infrastructure. Russia's two most important cities, Moscow and St. Petersburg, are both in the western part, home to nearly 20 million people. These cities have good roads, healthcare systems, job opportunities, and high-quality education. Most of Russia's major businesses and government offices are also located here, attracting professionals and students. Even during the Soviet era, the western side was prioritized. The Russian elite, including government officials and intellectuals, lived in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Petersburg and most Soviet investments went to these cities. This pattern continues today. Moscow's average salary is double the national average. As a result, Russia shows a clear divide. The western part is the economic and political center, while Siberia and the Far East lag far behind. The reason for this lag is that life in the east is incredibly tough. Siberia is known for its extreme weather. Take Yakutsk, the world's coldest city, where temperatures can drop below -60 degrees Celsius. Rivers freeze, summers are short, and even then, mosquitoes make life miserable. Cities are few and far apart, separated by vast forests, mountains, and frozen land. Roads and infrastructure are minimal, and agriculture is nearly non-existent. Yet, despite this emptiness, Siberia is rich in natural resources, making it one of the most resource-rich regions in the world. Official estimates suggest 80% of Russia's natural gas and 70% of its oil come from Siberia, supplying a significant portion of Europe's gas. Siberia is also home to Lake Baikal, the world's deepest lake, with a depth of 1,600 meters and 20% of the planet's freshwater. Additionally, 40% of Russia's coal reserves, as well as vast gold and diamond mines, are located here. For example, the Sukhoi Log gold deposit in Irkutsk is one of the largest untapped gold reserves on Earth, containing 450 tons of gold. Siberia is also rich in uranium, making Russia the world's fifth largest uranium producer. However, extracting these resources is extremely expensive. In the Arctic regions, harsh winters and thick ice make drilling difficult, and the lack of roads complicates transporting equipment. Extracting oil here is far costlier and more challenging than in places like the Middle East or the United States. Due to these tough conditions, most people in Siberia work in the oil, gas, or mining industries, and leave once their jobs are done. This has led to many ghost towns in Siberia. The Russian government has tried to address this by offering free land, tax breaks, and financial incentives to encourage settlement in the east. But most people refuse due to the harsh winters, remote cities, and lack of basic amenities like schools, hospitals, and even internet. Life is simply too difficult. Another reason for this population pattern is Russia's limited access to warm water ports, which has always been a challenge for its economy, trade, and military. Most of Russia's coastline is frozen for much of the year or far from global shipping routes. The Arctic Ocean in the north is frozen for 9 months, making trade nearly impossible. While climate change has opened some Arctic sea lanes, navigating them remains dangerous and costly. Russia's eastern side touches the Pacific Ocean, with an important port city like Vladivostok, but it's 9,000 kilometers from Moscow, on the opposite side of Siberia. Although Vladivostok is a warm water port, it often freezes in winter, requiring icebreaker ships. Russia's most reliable maritime access is through Sevastopol in the Black Sea, but ships must pass through the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits, controlled by Turkey, a NATO country. In a conflict, Turkey could block these choke points, cutting Russia's access to the Atlantic and global trade routes. This need for warm water access has concentrated Russia's population, infrastructure, and industry in the West. Yet, Russia's emptiness is also its greatest weapon. On the surface, eastern Russia seems like a weakness due to its sparse population, but this vast empty land serves as a buffer zone. Any enemy attacking from the east would have to cross hundreds of kilometers of forests, rivers, and mountains to reach major cities, giving Russia time to plan a response. This isn't just a theory, it's proven in history. During World War II, when Germany attacked the Soviet Union from the west, Soviet forces deliberately retreated deep into the country, stretching German supply lines. The harsh winter weakened the German army, allowing Soviet forces to counterattack and push them back. This strategy could still work today, as Russia's geography is a formidable barrier for any invading army. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union placed many military bases and radar stations in Siberia to make them harder to detect. Bombers and nuclear weapons were also hidden there to keep them out of reach. So, while eastern Russia appears empty, it provides breathing space, time for defense, and room to conceal powerful weapons. So, why do 80% of Russians live in just 20% of the land? It's because nature made the West more livable and the East more challenging. But this empty space isn't just a problem. It's Russia's hidden strength, protecting it and providing the resources that make it a global superpower. Today, technology and transport have improved. A flight from Moscow to Vladivostok takes just 8 hours, and internet connections span the country. But the basics of daily life remain unchanged. In European Russia, cities are close together, trains are fast, shops are stocked, and schools, hospitals, and roads are better. In eastern Russia, cities like Novosibirsk and Yekaterinburg have amenities, but conditions worsen as you move further east. Many young people leave the East for education or jobs in the West and never return. The East also has a low birth rate and an aging population, causing the Western population to grow while the East becomes emptier. Despite its resource wealth, Russia is a giant standing on one leg. Its power and progress are concentrated in the West, while the future of the East remains uncertain. If you liked this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video, take care, and goodbye.